Hello, creatives, community, and kind folks. Welcome to RPG with DBJ. And again, welcome to Obsidian Star Design Journey as we talk about the setting of and the mechanics of Obsidian Star, a free tabletop role playing game that I am working on with all of you as co-designers. Thank you very much. So I wanted to talk about basically what purpose will the player characters have in this game? What are they going to do? Why are they motivated to do what they do in the first place? What things will be standing in their way? What kind of stories do you want to tell? And to start off with some terminology, we're going to use the words like stars that they represent the player characters. We're also going to use words like constellation. A constellation is a group of our player characters, the stars of the adventure, and they will be aligned with each other for a common goal. So you're going to hear a lot of that, and then we're going to show off like a couple of one-pagers that I've been working on. Something very quickly to lay down. I've made references to like Morkborg, which is one of the premier games that has made chaotic layouts a thing. I'm not going that deep, but there's some of these one pagers that I will be making that kind of explain the game, and the layout is part of the immersive nature of the game. But yeah, no flaying, just hunting. Yeah, yeah. If you're a mine hunter, don't pick one that says Abby Normal. Yeah, there's a Netflix show called Mine Hunter, and I believe there's been movies named after that, and I'm sure there's plenty of novels that were that. And Shai says one pagers, so we can get started spamming on Facebook. Yeah, and I'm gonna need to find a place to put it. Yeah. I'll show. I gotta show you. Okay, I've been going around stuff, talking and stuff like that. But I gotta show you some things. So one of the issues with sometimes role playing games is that we often don't know. Like we have lots of setting material, but there's so much of it that we often don't know what we're supposed to do. And fantasy gaming, while fantasy gaming, we've got swords and sorcery and things like that, and stopping evil from getting out of hand. Sometimes there are players who aren't on the same page, and that's where we have, we do a session zero where we get together and we discuss like, what are we doing? Like, are we knights errant doing good things because we want to be good, or are we I don't know, criminalized deviants running around a fantasy world? And that's where you start to get sometimes indie role-playing games that are built around a specific outcome. So for example, if you're playing horror, like a horror style game called Cthulhu or something, everybody knows or should be on the same page that essentially you're not going to destroy the evil. You may hold it off for a while, but really you're just fragile human beings running around in a world where Lovecraftian horrors are far larger and bigger than you, and the only thing you can do is survive yet one day and hold off the downfall of humanity for 24 hours or something. And maybe you want to be in a game with pirates and you're sailing across liquid oceans or the vastness of space as pirates, or maybe all of you have been hired mercenaries, in league with a powerful oligarch or something of that nature. And so I do have a couple of like generalized categories, I guess you want to call them. And you can't even see these online. And using some of these generalized categories, giving them some flavorful names that we can decide, like, what are they supposed to be doing? Where are they going? And within Obsidian Star, or the post-human technology, maybe there's some things that are a little bit outside the norm. So we're going to start with the first one, which are mine hunters. And um, the idea of a group of characters being mine hunters, um, for those who don't know, there are cortical stacks known as zippers in this setting, in which all of your neural pathways, all of the experiences you've had, all of the memories you've had, basically have a backup brain, and that backup brain, that zip drive, can be stolen, found, recovered, and things like that. And the players become mine hunters. They are scavenging maybe not scavenging, they are searching the solar system, looking for, well, memories, minds, personalities, things like that. People who have had their minds zoxed, which is like Xeroxing, has been copied. Maybe their minds have been zoxed. Maybe someone famous has had and someone created an AI system that almost completely mimics this person's personality, and they're selling it on the black market. And from criminals to the rich and powerful are downloading this entertainer's mind and using it for their own deviant needs or something. There are important individuals that passed away or disappeared or were kidnapped. And what's the best way to kidnap someone? Snatch the zipper out the back of their head and dump the body. And now you can just put that kidnapped individual into your pocket. And so maybe the player characters are going after them. Also, this can become very personal, where the player characters are going after their own memories and their own personalities and their own copies and their own forgotten downloads of their own neural pathways, to keep it out of the hands of bad guys, or because they've been on missions that people shouldn't find out about, or the characters have kind of martyred themselves, and they need to make sure that after they complete a mission that no one is supposed to know about it, including themselves. And so that's kind of the idea of being mine hunters. Hey, Caligulus. Hey, what's going on there? No problem there. Okay. Next one is something a little bit similar to mine hunters, and I'm calling them stitchers. And stitchers are people who are putting together, well, memories, like detectives, but using physical locations and then psychological locations, like going to someone's dreams or memories, or lost personalities that are wandering around, and they are trying to stitch information back together. Essentially, like, being called on to say, "Hey, we've got people acting strange. Can you help us figure out what the hell's going on?" And then they stitch information that's not related to each other and find out what that relation is in between them. So stitching is like detective work, but also in the mindscape as well. Shadow ops sounds like what it is. It's performing missions in the shadows. It is not unable to take credit for the good works that you're doing, because you know that you are like Mission Impossible and James Bond and SEAL teams and Delta Force and things like that. A little more militant, some spy work, things like that, hiding in the shadows, shutting down the propensity of diabolical governments rising up. There are maybe criminal factions that are throwing, normally operating societies, and they're trying to disrupt those societies, and in the background are the player characters doing what they do. Hegemon Fist, that's essentially like the opposite of maybe like Shadow Ops or something, which is and other things where the players are agents of an overriding and expanding government, and they are the public face of that. They are the fist that's to crush down rebellion. They may be the equivalent of like Space Marines or Knights, law enforcement and military. And they are there to instill law where there is nothing but chaos. Now, of course, this does come across as like the bad guys sometimes, but I could see this being a good thing if in your setting there's too much chaos out in the solar system and the players are going to, Jupiter and Saturn and Mars and Luna and places like that to instill order. And some of that may essentially just be saving people's lives. Like, it doesn't need to be uh crushing people's spirits. It could be ensuring that you you know the third fusion reactor comes online. It could be ensuring that people have clean air and water in their habitat because things are breaking down. It could be, they are agents of a larger enterprise and ensuring that the goods and services from that enterprise and the protections that they get, um the players represent that to make sure if those things happen and those there aren't individuals trying to steal it or use access to create like false artificial scarcity. And the players may be involved in like, no, everybody gets to use the fabricators or the assemblers, not just you as a warlord or something like that. We've got Trek Star. Yes, it is tongue in cheek where maybe the players' characters are in a constellation that's just to explore our solar system. Now, one of the limitations on this is that there's this weird dichotomy of our solar system is huge because there's a lot of empty space, but it's also a bit confining because we're not going past the Kuiper belt and the Oort cloud. And so there it may be incumbent upon the game master, the spiral, and the stars of the show, in their constellation, to travel to different places in our solar system, use a lot of elements of hard science fiction to discover like what would it be like if we were in the gaseous clouds of Neptune or Uranus, or what would it feel like if we were in the deepest oceans of Terra or Europa or something like that, and really embrace the low gravity, the zero gravity, the radiation, and the more explorative parts of it, and also not just charting unexplored areas, but going back in old charts to go back to places that have been charted and those places have been lost. So ever since the signal swept across the solar system, there were some habitats and some people that were just lost because power outages and mechanical systems just failed. And so, in a Trek Star styled game session, the constellations, the player characters might be going out there to reestablish connection with some of these lost places, to discover like how how much humanity has shifted and changed away from the norm, the baseline, into something very much alien. And I love the the what Drew put out yesterday. Is like, it's not alien nations, but there is alienation. And so I really like that. Let me see what you guys have to say. Anything? Yeah, or TA says, yeah, or we fight in the darkness so that civilization can thrive in the light. I love that. And it kind of incorporates the Obsidian Star title, right? Like, obsidian is like a dark material that can be razor sharp. You can get hurt by it, but then but with a star behind it, it can illuminate lots of things. Why is it? There it goes. Ooh. TA says takes copyrighted material to a whole new level. You know what? There was a funny, I think his name is Tom Scott. Anyway, massive YouTube channel, and I remember many years ago. This has got to be 7 to 9 years ago. Did a thing about like what if you had memorized copywritten material, you could do mind editing. Is it possible that someone can go after you and sue you and have that copyrighted material edited out of your brain? And I'm like, that sounds really cool. That's that really. The End King says the zipper can be removed that easily. So it's like Cyberpunk where jackets have a physical USB slot. Well, I don't know if easy, like how easy is it to get like a chicken bone out of fried chicken? I don't know. It would be kind of like that. Yeah, we die in the dark so you can live in the light. Um, yeah, I don't believe it would be that simple. Although there are factions that want it to be that serial. Like they're simple. So there's the Neuroforge absolutely positively basically have slots in the back of their head, and they can eject and implant different personalities and skill sets and things like that. There's others who are like, please don't touch the back of my head. Please don't do that. Only in emergencies, you know. So there are ways to remove the zipper out of people's jackets. It's just forcibly, like with a, you know, you'd have to do it with a knife and bloody blades and things like that. So no, it's not that simple. On the norm, it's not that simple. Uh, yeah, it's, the Yankee says, you know, every player is going to have a disposable Shadow Ops jacket, and that's actually kind of a cool thing because within this in this genre, um, not only will the players have to hide like physical evidence of things, which is complicated unto itself, meaning like leaving behind genetic material and things like that, but they may go on missions in a jacket, in a physical body that is not one they're normally used to, go on a mission and then at the end of it dispose of it, right? And part of that mission may literally be, uh, dare I say it in the context of science fiction, it might be a self-delete suicide pact. Like in the sense of, okay, we eliminated, I don't know, there's a rogue AI that took over a factory, and there were hundreds of people working the factory, and their bodies were disassembled, and the PCs go in and destroy it. But they need to make sure that society doesn't know about it. So what they do is everybody gets together. I don't know, activates the the beaming thing that sends their brains in a neutrino tight beam off to Mars, and then their bodies are left behind, and they send off an implosion bomb or a nuke or whatever to make sure nobody ever finds out about it. And so, yeah, disposing of that Shadow Ops jacket is a real thing. I actually I would encourage it. There's also the idea that their brains, every player may have in their memories the memory of a mission no one is supposed to find out about. And maybe there's a rival group that ends up, mind kidnapping, mind napping a player character's memories when they were on vacation or something, or they during the mission they beamed themselves somewhere and someone intercepted that beam and made a copy of the player characters, and now the player characters are like, shit, damn it, we got to go after we have to go after this person. And what if a player character's memories are living somewhere for like months, and they're like, I don't like, I'm a whole separate person than you. We may have the same, uh we're brothers from different mothers, we're sisters from different misters, we're cousins from different ovens, we're we're siblings from different kindlings. I don't know what I don't know what to say. So so you can have this loop effect, which would kind of be weird. Taste of Banana's connection with Lost Places, where the Obsidian xenomorphs took over. Yeah, possibly, yes. Hey, it, the pamphlet said this was going to be a utopia of meditation and Zen arts, and you get there and it's all overgrown, and there's like you could hear the sounds of like prehistoric, maybe even primeval sounds of predators and prey in the background and stuff, and then you get like, this used to be a hydroponics place that produces the best, I don't know, the best weed, and now you get there and there's like living plants and stuff. So yeah, all that put together. Yeah, Drew says Tom Scott had lots of fascinating ideas. Yeah, I dropped off of Tom Scott, but some of them were pretty interesting. And that the idea of having law enforcement and being sued by carrying around copywritten materials in your memories. Like let's say you had a relationship with someone, and that person's like, yeah, you're carrying around memories of me in your head, and we broke up. I don't want you to remember me any longer. And so you have to delete that person. That would be really weird. Yeah, TA says, who owns the copyright to your zippers data and memories? Have you sold out, or do you still completely own it? Are you using pirated memories? All of that and more. I love the idea of questioning that. Like, for example, a player character, and this is where some of the difficulties may come from players who play this game. You may think your character is, I'm just going to pick a number. Your character is 38 years old. Your lifespan's 187 predicted, and you have this great life that you led before of, you know, adventure and skills. But did you really live that life, or was it sleep taught to you, or are these artificial memories from somebody else who want to get them back? And your body and mind are only about 3 weeks old, but your memories, you think you're older and you've lived many years, but actually you just woke up out of a sleep chamber or stasis chamber or something like that, you know. Palindrome Paladin says, "Good morning. I'm here for the Vanguardians." Yeah. Yeah. Okay, so let's get back into this little short list of possible Constellation motivations. Okay, so we got past Trek Star. Now the Arc, and you know you could spell it all kinds of ways, but the Arc is the player characters are in charge of a colony ship of people. They are the protectors of a group of people, and I'm using Arc as just a very simple way to think of, like, oh, the player characters are in charge of a family or a group of lost souls or refugees. And this can be done in many ways. This could be the player characters have escaped from the totalitarian control of someone on a moon, and they've escaped and they're just trying to live their life. This could be a project to, you know, the idea is to go past the Oort cloud, but they haven't gotten there yet. And so they are essentially maybe like a religious organization, or they are a governmental mission, or, you know, all the whole sense is that the player characters are in charge of a small, and when I say small, it could be a few dozen to a few hundred to a few thousand individuals that are just trying to live their life and maybe settle somewhere out in our own solar system, maybe settle a moon or an asteroid or something of that nature. And so the players have to handle the physical defense of the people, having them fed and you know, drinking food they need, but they also need safety. They need enrichment. You know, you can't just lock them away. Maybe this is a great idea for players that constantly want to make different player characters, so they can have one of the stars could sit in the Arc while another one takes their place. Maybe in this Arc the player characters are literally carrying with them genetic material and folded up robots that they pull out every once in a while. The players may need to monitor illnesses and sickness and the birth of children, and how is that done? Is this going to be natural, or are they going to use exo wombs, creating their own government? So that's what the Arc Constellation idea would be. And with the solar system having 1 trillion and more souls in it, there may be constantly bumping up against others as like envoys or diplomatic relations and trade and such. Now we get to the Vanguardians. Vanguardians are the samurai, the knight errants of the solar system. Not so much the hegemon fist as agents of a overriding governmental thing, but more independent Ronin. Your player characters are the defenders of the solar system, whether it's against physical defenses, radiation bursts, out of control nanotech and AI, rogue planets, solar flares, things like that, like physically saving people. It's also the physical defense of military, right? Like we're going to stop criminal organizations. We're going to stop invasions. We're going to stop, the violent overtake of one habitat of another. We're just going to arrive and do the right thing. And I'm imagining like the idea of Vanguardians, that they are outside the norm. They are outside of any kind of official capacity, so that people both want them going after, society wants them around because they can be protected, but they also don't want them poking or poking their nose around their own things, right? Like it's like, yeah, you stopped the meteor impacts, but could you leave now? And Vanguardian is like, are those, are you growing children to be you? Like, what are you doing here? And they're like, no, they're not kids. There's adults in those bodies. And it's like, yeah, but they're children. What are you doing here? What are you doing with these people? Like, no, 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 don't look this way. and then Vanguardians are like, we need to stop you from we saved your lives. Now we need to stop you. Okay. Spitfire. Spitfire is basically the epitome of rebellion. All the players want to do is just cause trouble anywhere and everywhere they go. They want to go to play, they want to spend money, live fast, die young. It is basically living and dying under your vices. It's spending a lot of money, romances, and drugs, and getting into fights. It's the freebooter. It's the pirate. It's the traveling the solar system, causing trouble and leaving behind destruction wherever they go from the overzealous partying and things like that. Smuggler's Run, again, not necessarily piracy so much, but maybe the player characters are smuggling people from one place to another. They are taking, hey, you're not allowed to import chocolates into our habitat, and the players are like trading chocolates for spice running and things like that. Like it's just smuggling people, smuggling mines, smuggling robots and AI systems and things like that. And it's like running from place to place, avoiding the authorities. It's the untold stories of the Millennium Falcon and the crew of the Millennium Falcon and things like that. War Dogs means what it says. War Dogs is like, it's similar to the Hegemon Fist and Vanguardians, except the story is about being in war. So the player characters should be militant design, and you can play with ranks. You can play with the idea of all the war stories we know about, behind the scenes, behind enemy lines, um, uh, uh, um, uh, being, all the military tropes. For example, running out of supplies, needing to reinforce someone else, getting uh, having communications scrambled, so you're not sure exactly if the mission is the way it should be. This is very much like every game would have a default of basically attacking the enemy. Now, in War Dogs, the enemy could be Cyberdyne Systems and playing through, Terminator, and you're the humans and fighting against the machines. The player characters could be machines who there are agents trying to eliminate the machines, and the player characters are like, no, we're living entities. We're not just machines. You can't just turn us off. I have a consciousness, damn it. Something like that. War Dogs could also be, instead of like planet against planet attacks, it could be hab on hab attacks. So maybe, I don't know, the southern hemisphere of Mars is having an uprising, and the player characters are constantly like, trying to scavenge and find supplies and get new weapons and recruit others into the war effort to go after something. And you can have a lot of timer effects too. Like, for example, the players have 4 hours to explore this hab before it gets bombarded by tungsten rods from orbit, or someone has already activated a nuke and everyone's got a countdown timer, and it's like 3 minutes and 38 seconds and counting down, and they have to get the refugees out before it goes off or whatever, things like that. Last two would be bounty hunters. Classic bounty hunting, going after criminals that need to be punished, people who have escaped confinement. But bounty hunters could also be going after, again, rogue AI, lost memories, um, Blade Runner, where the concept of Blade Runners going after the what were their names? The clones, the artificially created humans that had a limited lifespan who wanted to live and go off on their own, and shutting them down, and the problems, the ethics and morality of going after people who just want to be free, and but they only have a limited lifespan. And you've got to end their life because they've broken their contract or whatever. Bounty hunting can also be a thing where there are individuals who have broken families and broken minds, and to go out and get that and bring that back. Now, the difference between, say, mine hunters and stitchers and bounty hunters is that the PCs are basically mercenaries. They're doing it for money, maybe for prestige, maybe for favors. Whereas with like the mine hunters and stitchers, the players may have their own goals to operate with. They might be working on their own, or working with a specific faction. And of course, we've got scavengers, players, probably a starship going around the solar system, scavenging old and forgotten artifacts from around the solar system and getting them together. Basically, data core hunters. I guess to get rid of scav and just put data core hunting. Essentially, digital archaeologists of sorts as well. Buying, trading, selling maybe some of that merchandise. The players might just be extremely poor or at the bottom level of society, and they have no recourse but to scavenge because they are disrespected, or maybe they were criminals or something of that nature. So those are some ideas I was coming up with, like, what kind of game would you like to be in? And so here's here. But let's go with our co-hosts and see what they have to say. What would be cool is to fund everything with physical merch, that is stuff like communicators and patches, badges, and pins that are used for things like military and officer stuff. Ooh, that's a good idea. That, and maybe some hardware that players could have, like how they sell phasers from Star Trek. Yeah, that'd be kind of cool. Yeah, Drew says, instead of saying that someone has a screw loose, people will say that someone has a loose zipper. Yeah, you might want to pull up your zipper, because yeah. Or I was thinking about the slang involved with like zippers and jackets. For example, tailors, weavers, threads, pockets, buttons, um, um, uh, um, what's the term when you have things that are too small, too large for you, whether it's like tailored to you or oversized, things like that. Yeah. Yep. The Yanking says, imagine someone suing their clone for existing. That's a little more real than the sarcasm I hear you saying that with there, N King. Yeah, maybe as a player character, maybe your clone is living the life you've wanted. Like maybe you went on a mission. The end of the mission, it was like a 3-week mission. You wake up and find out that your clone's been living your life. Do you have the right to tell your clone that they can't live their life? And maybe you become the hunted, or maybe your character was the clone all along, and the real you is like, yeah, we're going to have to shut you down. And you're like, no, you can't shut me down. I'm a whole real person. And your clone is like, no, you're not, because I have all your real memories. You just have a portion of that. Right there. I mean, there can be some complications on that. And I love it. Yeah. The whole Thomas says, yeah, the whole cloning of the jackets brings up the concept with AI too, of really creepy AI driven real doll stuff. Yes. Yeah. I want this game to incorporate those pretty dark technology. Makes, in a utopia, technology gives us an enlightenment. We can ascend to a higher level of ourselves. But let's be honest, like there's lots of technologies today that are horrifically horrible. If your brain goes down that rabbit hole, and you start spiraling down, and you're like, oh shit, you can really, Oh, if you did this with technology, you mean, ooh. Yeah, colony ship where your job is to figure out what to tell the children. Yeah. Heck, maybe the colony ship doesn't know what's going on outside and the player characters are trying to keep it a lie. Because maybe the colony ship got lost or diverted or something like that. Yeah. Caligulus says, good point. This must be a setting where you want to have lots of characters lined up and ready to go, like in Cthulhu, in case you get permadeath. Yep. Yeah. And death really isn't permanent in the way you think it is, because a character can become unplayable and still alive. I mean, if you suffer enough losses, insanity, and your body's crushed and things like, yeah, at a certain point your character might not be recognizable any longer. Growing adult children to thwart the pizza enthusiast. Well, yeah. Spitfire, where your mission is to quit space smoking. Yep. Replicants. Thank you there, Drew. Yes, replicants are in Blade Runner. And for those who don't know the generalized plot in Blade Runner, that the original one, Harrison Ford's job was to go after replicants. Replicants were, replicated people like humans. They were just stronger. They were used as physical labor off world, and many of them were trying to escape their lives, even though they had short lifespans, and you had to stop them because they were running wild. And you don't want people. It was also what's the term? Public relations fiasco. Like, yeah, humans maybe didn't mind replicants existing, but you don't want them running around your household. you know. Palindrome says that in our Vanguardians game, we explored the moral limitations of the hero's authority. Are you judge, jury, and executioner? Should you be? Yeah, exactly. Like, if you okay, so this is the moral quandary of being a superhero, in the sense of, if you're Superman, do you change? Do you get rid of people in that are you don't approve of in government? Do you get rid of or support one side over another in a military conflict? What about saving lives? Who gets to choose which lives are saved when you are saving lives to the east, but there are people who are dying in the west? And that kind of thing. And so, yeah, being like a Vanguardian would be that person that goes like, okay, I'm here to save the lives of the dome city on the southern hemisphere of Mars. And then you get there and you realize all these people are like these inbred, despicable people. Do you just let them die because you're like, I don't approve of their lifestyle? Or do you save them and try to educate them? Do you have the power to save them and take those refugees and take them to another place? Where do you take them? Do you have the right to just say they're going to live here? XYZ, PDQ, yeah. Hand-me-downs. I wonder if you could. I think there would be hand-me-down jackets. Oh, TA, I see you with your face pressed against the window outside. Like, there's someone eating my birthday cake and it's not me. The family inside all smiling, and then your clone looks out at the window at you and gives you that wink, like, yeah, I'm here. You're outside. You can't come in. And then you fall to your knees in a slow motion, screaming into the heavens, no. Yeah. Paladin says, we also explored cultural differences. Those guys are okay with sacrificing every second born to their fire god. Should a Vanguardian be cool with that? Right. Like, who's to say? Logan's Run, sci-fi Logan's Run, where no one lived past the age of 30. I believe it was 30 in the original Logan's Run. They were just killed. You just don't. Everybody was happy with that. What if there's a colony or space habitat or something where they're like, listen, we can only have 10,364 people that live here. We can't have our population exploding. So we need to sacrifice that many people for the new people that are coming. And maybe they're just fine with it. I'm with you there, Caligulus. Yeah. Blade Runner 2049, one of the only worthwhile sequels of the past 10 years. It was excellently made. It was actually pretty. Even the visuals of that damn movie is sweet. Your pal says, "Would love to explore that with DBJ again one day. Fun times, yeah." Um, we. Oh man, that's damn. How far back was that? Shit, it was. It's been wow, 7 years, 6, 7 years, 8 years, something like that. Shoe One Head has a video she just put out last night about AI girl and guy friends. Yeah, yeah, that may be a thing too. I mean, players could have relationships with AI. I mean, like intimate relationships and things like that. Why not? TA says the replicants also had a 3-year lifespans to avoid them developing memories and personalities because it caused all sorts of psychological issues for them being born as adults and living as slaves. Yeah, 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 yeah. That was the now. One could say, well, why not just let the replicants die off? They only have a 3-year lifespan. The problem is, if they only served physical labor for a year and they escaped, what do they do in the next 2 years, right? Um, so that was the point of putting them down. Though they never point out that it's partly because they were brought into life as a slave class only. Like, imagine how screwed up kids are that are born as slaves and know nothing else. Exactly, especially if they have the minds of children but the bodies of adults. Yeah, yeah, inbred, despicable people like that one guy in Game of Thrones, North of the Wall. Yep, with all the wives giving babies to the White Walkers. Yep, exactly. And listen, we on Earth know of cult-like thinking that we can people rationalize the worst behaviors. I'm looking at you, Catholic Catholic priests, abusing children. I'm looking at you, Branch Davidians, and all the other the scientists. Remember yesterday we were talking about all the scientific experimentation done on people without their knowledge and things like that. We're pretty humans are pretty good at rationalizing away the worst behaviors ever. Now imagine doing that in a space habitat that has no outside contradictory information to prevent the inbreeding of despicable behaviors to happen, right? Like today, you could have a coworker that has like a weird idea about life and politics and society, but your coworker and you can separate. You can get on your phone and look up different things. You can go you can go somewhere else. But if you're living in a space habitat, there's not too many places you can go to get away from these other people. And so do you go along to get along? Maybe something like that. Logan's Run with the retirement plan of the near future. Carousel. Yep, the people floating in the air. Yay! Just getting zapped. Yeah. AI girls, very good for shameless advertising. So let's go, Obsidian AI girl. Yeah. Oh, oh no, you just poked the thread. Sorry about that. Sorry about the out there popes and others, but you get my point, right? That and I maybe I hyper focused on one faction of society, but there is no place that's free of this kind of thinking. You take that and turn the volume up a little bit in the space habitat, it can get pretty horrible. So, I also wanted yeah, yeah, people are hardwired not to fuck their relatives. So you just take the few that aren't and turn them into protein bars. Yeah. Yeah, it'd be pretty easy to recycle people, right? Like, which I think would be a real thing in the future. We wouldn't be dumping people out into space and making them kinetic kill weapons. We'd probably be recycling people in different formats would probably happen. Like people would be proud to like, hey, bury me in a hydroponics plant. That way I get to live forever. Says, oh, I get the point. We're just going to get Inquisitioned now. You don't know what Inquisition is. So the idea of what player characters are going to do in this world is going to be up to like what are your friends want to do in this game? Like, are they more like, hey, let's roll a bunch of dice and kill things? Do you want to make it more introspective? And I feel like but I also feel like we are we have the ability to insert bigger questions inside of our base behaviors, right? There's a lot of players that all they want to do is run and gun. I want to make a character that's got like a bunch of weapons and armor and kill things, but the moral implications, like Blade Runner, which it is not as action oriented as we think it is. But like in Blade Runner, this person's going around shooting people in the streets. But there's also the idea, like, should this character be doing it? The question of whether Deckard, the Blade Runner, is himself a Blade Runner, which a lot of story elements point to it. Stuff, yeah. It says we non-heretics don't have all those Catholic problems. Yeah, and listen, I'm not just pointing at them. I'm talking about the fact that we can walk around the corner of our own lives and find people doing things that are pretty despicable. I mean, you know, the the moral quandary of being a drug dealer, right? You're like, well, I'm not forcing them to buy it, but yeah, you're kind of enforcing the problem, the issue that you have, right? So we are very good at rationalizing things away, and I like the idea we can do that, because that makes a lot of problems for our player characters to have to solve. Now, the one thing I would like to insert into here, this short list, and this list isn't written in stone. I can very easily change it, which is the whole point of wanting to change it in the first place. Is I want to where's my brain going? Pirates. If players are going to be in space, they're going to want a starship. That's just a given. And there's something engaging about a bunch of player characters all in support of a similar thing, and the physical representation of a pirate on a sailing the oceans, or a Millennium Falcon type ship that the player characters, what is the Rocinante in the Expanse, where all the player characters can kind of gather together in support of this one thing, and building it, modifying it, having your player characters rest on it and come back to it like a home base. And I would yeah, I hear you, shit lords. Yeah, just the free market in action. Yeah. Yes. So was slavery, and so is human trafficking and all those things. It's just supply and demand, right? Yeah, tell yourself that. So while a starship doesn't necessarily apply directly to all of these, although to be honest with you, no matter what mission or focus or constellation the players want to be in, they'd all want a starship. But I guess my bigger point would be, like, if they want to play Hegemon Fist or Vanguardians or War Dogs, chances are they are going to have some kind of military support behind them. So they may have like a military base. They may be in charge of underlings, both combat and non-combat. So there might be something. So I like the idea of the players being in control of a thing. One of those group things might be a starship, right? Like if they're scavengers or smugglers run, they may have a starship, whereas Spitfires or Shadow Ops, maybe they have black market or underground connections, like a criminal organization or something like that. Or maybe with like the Mine Hunters and Stitchers type of idea, is that they have a hidden, it's like a Warehouse 13. They have a hidden location where they're warehousing all these divergent mines to bring them back together again, or something like that. The free market does not apply to NAP violations. It's a bad. Caligula says we're all slaves anyway, to our own minds and experiences. Yeah, absolutely. I want to show you something else. One pager. I promised I would show some one pagers, and what I mean by a one pager is that when all the pages of the one pager are put together, it'll be a big old book. Maybe not big. I don't know. Maybe 30 to 50 pages. But okay, so let's see here. Let's do one page. Let's increase the size of this till it boggles the mind. And yeah, there's a character sheet, and then we'll go beyond that. All right, so let's share this out. And sorry. Okay, so again, of course, this is a super hyper close up of the character sheet, or one version of the character sheet, with the pockets and stuff. And then I decided to change it, to slay a darling. And so we have like our attributes, our approach. Strive now is your character level, and you get to spend it. So we know what level, air quotes, our characters are. So everyone begins with a strive of 1. It may go up to like a maximum strive of 12, and with that way we know how far advanced our characters are, and you can spend that to do different things. Same thing still happen. You pick an attribute, you pick an approach, and you roll 2d12, and you don't add them together. You try to roll high but not over your score. Here we have our building blocks that make up who we are and what we are. So we got the zipper, tech, jackets, your core convictions, your traits, your threads are like your connections with people. Treks are the places you've been. Traits are things like, are you attractive, smooth, alluring, vigilant, graceful, things like that. And then on the sides here, we've got to the left, we've got our time, energy, and resources that we expend to get our building blocks back and our core conviction back. So orbits on the character sheet basically is, you're going to come up with what horrible thing on the horizon for your character is going to happen. So for example, Han Solo's orbit was Jabba the Hutt. And so maybe you're being hunted, maybe you owe someone, maybe there is an AI that's coming after you, maybe there's a clone that's trying to kill you, something like that, whatever the case might be. So that's your orbit. Your vians are your staples. This is what you have to expend to physically recover and mentally recover from when your building blocks start to deteriorate. Your building blocks are who and what you are. It's all your memories. It's all your physical actions. It's your body. It's your mind. It's your conviction right in the middle, right? It's your core conviction in the middle. You expend your vians to do that. Vians are food, water, but it's not just food, water, and safety like a shelter. It's also muscle atrophy, calcium enrichment. It is psychological, preventing you from deteriorating psychologically in the vastness of space. It could be washing away, going into a bacta tank and washing away the cancers from radiation, and that's what all that is. And then and your ducats, your money, expend that to buy things, and then of course we got data cores and our bricks. But let me show you something else. This is a one pager. I'm going to change the layout, but these one pagers are going to be the rules of the game, and I'm trying to crush them down into one page. And even the font is pretty horrible right now, just sitting where it is. So here we have the character creation, and it's on one page. I'm still playing with the layout. I might even put like a watermark in the background and things like that. You'll see some of the watermarks I came up with. But this is basically all you need for a character creation. Mind you, there are no descriptions in this. So we have like our attributes. How many points? 3 attributes, divide 12 points between each, blah, blah, blah. And then we have your convictions. You pick one of the D6 convictions. You have your approaches. What do you pick with that? We have the jackets. I had to put a XXX here because it always starts with a 1 when you use the numbers. So I can't erase the 1. Well, I can put a white bar over top of it, but I haven't decided if I'm going to do that. But anyway, so we have the everything that you need to make your character. So we have the jackets you can pick, what are building blocks, What are your threads, your zipper, the technology that you have available to you? Um, for example, on the very left under zipper, you'll see it says like hacktivist. I might even change that to flow coder, but I'm not sure. Basically, your computer programmer, hacktivist, going into the flow. Enforcer, infiltrator, blah, 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 blah. These are generalized career choices, and you can pick up more of them as you go along. Your strive score, all the different types of 24 different types of jackets. That's your physical body. Um, there are traits here, bricks, treks, things like that. So to the very left are traits. So you might be observant, charming, convincing, precise. You get to pick one, and you pick up more as your character, advancement. On the very right of the screen, shit. Sorry about that. Are treks. That's where you've been, and you're familiar with where you've been. At first, I was going to list these as like the planetary systems, like Mars, Jupiter, but that would suck. If you pick Jupiter and you're not on Jupiter, that would suck. So instead, what I decided to do is pick regions you're familiar with. So, are roof running, zero gravity, winterized zones, overgrowth, submerged, free falling, spire climbing. So all of these can be transported from place to place to place, and you can pick up more of those. And then we get into like orbits, VNs. That looks weird. There it is. Okay. Data cores, bricks. Of course, you start with 0 data cores. Orbits, VNs, and Ducats. You divide 12 points between each. Though every time so let's say you pick 4, 4, and 4. So you'd have 4 in orbits, 4 in VNs, 4 in ducats. You'd spend a point. Let's say you want to spend some money and get a room in a hotel on Luna or whatever. So it would go down from 4 to 3, and then you roll a D12. And if you want to roll high but not above it, because if you roll a 4, 5, 6, or 7, you kind of ran out of your money. Whereas if you make it, then you're like, okay, well, I can keep using it. And so you want your skill, you want these to go up. Otherwise, they just drop to 0. There's a good chance they're going to drop to 0. And some characters, if you're a scavenger, you might not have a lot of money, but you may have, your orbit may be high because you don't have too many people coming after you. So let's go to, here's a 1-pager of, you can't really see it. Just a very quick example of like maybe like a cover or inside cover. What is Obsidian Star? That's your elevator pitch. I can't really see it. Shit. 1-pager. What post-human society? What is that about? What does that even mean? The solar system. What is the solar system? What are the names of the solar system? What? Now that I look back at it, there we go. So explanation, and guess right here, if you can see this, let's zero in on this. Look at that right there. So and this is a 1-pager explaining what this is about, and then I'll get back to your comments in just a minute. But this is just an idea of something I was trying to work on. This, I hadn't even gotten to the point of changing this around yet, of filling this out. This is Mercury. And so just a page like, hey, what's Mercury about? Like what is Mercury in this setting? And right now I'd probably have to flip this image around actually, because the way I'd be writing it, it's going to cover it up. Maybe what I might do one day is talk to you guys and do this live. And maybe we'll put Mercury on the planet Mercury on that side. Looks like the moon, but that actually isn't the moon. It's Mercury. Yeah. Anyway, let's go back up here. Okay, let's see what you guys have to say here. There it goes. Okay, man. Sometimes Yeah, I really like how the sheet conveys the vibe setting of the game. Well done. Thank you very much. It still needs some work, I think. Yeah, the sheet already sets it apart from standard RPG fare. For those who don't know, the character sheet. Oh, let me go back to the character sheet. So the character sheet itself represents the thing that you need in the game. So let's get back to the character sheet. I just want to show you something. Um, so the character sheet is going to be, you're going to fill these hexes in with words, and each of those words is a mechanical +1. So under zipper, those are going to be your memories. And let's say one of those memories is an enforcer. And let's say you gain another one and it's envoy. So you have enforcer and envoy. So whenever you roll the dice, if you can answer the question, because I'm an enforcer, because I'm an envoy, because I've lived on Mars, because I am alluring, because I am graceful, because I am athletic, I get a +1. Now, you don't have to physically answer that question in game, like, hey, game master, because I'm athletic, do I get a +1? This should be natural language. Hey, I'm an athletic enforcer from Mars. That's +1, +2, +3. That's what you need. So your words are your hit points. These also represent your hit points. So every word that you write into these building blocks is a hit point, if you want to call it hit points. So you're eventually, what's going to happen is these begin to fill in, and every time you fill one in, not only does your character get better, but your character also is a little bit more enduring. And so you can lose just one of these little small hexes, two of them, or lose an entire building block. And so and narratively, we can describe what happened. So, for example, let's say someone snuck up behind you and hit you in the head with a lead pipe. So maybe the building block you lose is part of your zipper or your traits, and maybe the narratively it's because you have a concussion, right? Or up here in tech. So you might have like razor tech or storm tech or waiver tech or laser tech or something in here. So you have blueprints to print out that technology. If you lose that, maybe it's because the enemies you had in the backpack, your enemy snatched it off your back. Or narratively, you describe it as, oh, shoot, my stuff is in my locker and it's back in my the chambers in the starship. I got to go back and get my tech, which is why I lost access to it. So yes, every time you write a single word in here, that's a +1. 2 words are +2, 3 words +3. That's just essentially what it is. So yeah. All right, sorry, I gotta find out what you guys have to say. Han Solo's orbit was Jabba the Hutt. Is that a fat joke? Oh no, you're so wrong there, N King. I didn't even see that comment. Yes. In my humble opinion, the character sheet doesn't get across Obsidian's unique selling point, a future space setting that is actually plausible without the usual sci-fi tropes. Thank you very much for that. I really wanted to go out of my way to embrace that concept, right? Like the idea that, that to make it as plausible as possible. I mean, we still want it to be exciting, right? We don't want this to be a snooze fest, but I really want to think of things in a very logical manner and then pick out those out of that logic. What's the exciting part out of that logic? So yeah. I mean, there's nothing wrong with the character sheet. It's cool. It just doesn't seem like a great advertisement for the setting. I agree with you. I definitely agree with you because someone can look at it and go, I don't get it. Right. Caligula says serious RPG nerds would take one look at the character sheet and instantly know this game is way different. Yeah. Thank you there. Taste of Banat says, yeah, the sheet really sets it apart. Thank you. Paladin says, I really like how the sheet conveys the vibe setting a game. Well done. Thank you. Can you be charming and convincing if you're just a brain and a button? Maybe. Hey, if you're in a VR world, sure, why not? Palindrome says, you may suck at it, but shouldn't you still be able to try? Of course. So on the character sheet, when I say you lose access to it, you always let me go backwards. Whenever you make a check, you roll 2d12. So it's a 2d12 singularity system. You roll 2d12, you want to roll high, but not above. So you're going to pick an attribute, force, flex, or fulcrum. You're going to pick an approach. You already have all three of these, force, flex, and fulcrum. You already have all those. Force goes first, flex goes second, fulcrum goes third. That's how initiative, you don't roll initiative. So force is first, flex second, fulcrum third. Force is direct, flex is balanced, fulcrum is considered action. Failing force causes the worst outcomes. Flex causes the minor outcomes, and fulcrum, if you fail something, it causes very, very minor, if no outcomes at all. Approaches, you pick three of these. So you will always be rolling 2d12, and you get to pick the die. So let's say you have a force of 4 and a careful of 4, and you want to carefully disable a bomb. You're going to roll 2d12 and try to roll high, right? Anywhere between 1 and 4, but not over. You don't want to roll over your stat. And does that mean you can both succeed and fail? Yes. If you roll a 3 and a 7, you've both succeeded and failed. So what does success look like, or what does failure look like? Well, it's like it's a yes, no, and or yes, no, if, and or but. It's a partial success. So that's how that works. So you can always default to that. What happens is down here, you get to add up to +6. You can add +3 to one of your attributes and +3 to one of your approaches. So it's a total of +6 as a maximum, which is going to be pretty rare in this game. So you can add up to +3 to your force, making it from 4 to 7, add up to +3 to your careful, bringing it up to a +7, up to a 7, and you still roll the dice. And so you can you could literally roll doubles, which is an amazing, it's like an extraordinary outcome, and still have a partial success and failure, which is really weird. But yes, both things can happen at the same time. So yeah. That's how that works. Sorry, comments. Ooh, I'm getting distracted here. Shai says, I want to be graceful and aesthetic, disembodied consciousness. You could play that if you want to. Okay, cool. That all looks like good advertising to me. Yeah, neat. Thank you there, Drew. Text on screen can be convincing and charming. True, that's possibly true. Oh. AJ, hey, what's up there? What's up? Evening on your side of the world, yes, as we broadcast here at the ass end of the morning. AJ says, there should be a term for an RPG so narrative and rules light. The entire character and rules of the game are contained on the character cheat sheet. That is what I'm trying to get to. To be honest with you, yeah, that's one of my goals is to, I'm going to shrink this down just a little bit. So what I want to get across is when your character adventures, level advancement will be basically writing down the things that you have encountered. So if your characters were never on Mars and you went to Mars, you can just write Mars down on tracks. That's your advancement. You want to increase your level, you write down Mars or Underworld or I don't know, nanotech or things like that. You're going to write those things down in these little hexes. Mechanically, you get a +1 for every single word you write down. So at the end of adventure, if the game master is like, hey guys, hey, we're going to advance our characters, what's going to happen? And someone says, you know what, my spy character did some amazing things. Can I write down stealth? I don't have stealth on my character. Yes, please write down stealth. Hey, well, I was in the same mission, but I want to write down hacking. I want to write down hacking on my character. Can I get hacking? Yes. So you write that down, and that's a single word. So every single word is a +1. That applies narratively to what you're doing. But that also is your hit points. When you suffer losses, it's not called damage. It's basically a loss. You can get a physical loss, social loss, mental loss, whatever. If you suffer any kind of loss, you lose, you basically check mark that thing. You temporarily don't have access to hacking or Mars or Underworld or whatever, or stealth. So temporarily you don't have access to that. And then narratively speaking, we describe why you don't have access to it. So And as a player, you choose what you lose access to, not the game master. You choose what you lose access to. So if you check mark stealth, narratively, maybe your ankle is twisted, or maybe you're something, one of the pieces of equipment on your body is sending off an alarm and is going beep boop boop beep beep boop beep boop boop. You know, it's the classic my cell phone goes off when I'm hiding from the killer, right? So all of that is what this core part is. And right in the middle, core conviction. When all of your building blocks are going, you've hit your core conviction. And that's where we start talking about the dying and death mechanic and all that kind of stuff. It's who you are, what you are. So very wordy, difficult to write down in rules. Because I am a time-sharing jacket user, I play 2 characters in the same jacket. That's awesome. That would be awesome. Yeah, AJ's like, one-page role-playing game? That's actually not bad. One-page narrative and rules light? Opnorals or opera pugs. I love it. Maybe. Ju says, no, it's not a one-page game. No, it isn't. It is more like Morkborg. That stuff is presented in a manner that has topics on one page. Right. And I want to be able to, not only is it easier for me to break this apart because I'm an outline writer. Like I like to break things apart in smaller pieces, but I feel like you could also give a chunk of it to someone without them having to read the whole thing. Right. You could just, so the way I'd like to see this done is you could literally send this character sheet and maybe a 1-page about the background of the game to somebody's phone. Here's your character sheet. Boom. Send it as a pic, a JPEG. And here's another thing. Here's a PDF of 1 page. Boom. There you go. Here's all you need for the game or for you to join in. And later, when the players are on Mars, because they don't even need to know that information, here's a 1-pager on Mars. Right. Yeah. I think we should get some forums for space science nerds to see if there's a way to pitch this game to them. You know what? I actually thought about that. I had a very short, limited conversation with Isaac Arthur, like 5 years ago, set up by Deadman. So maybe I could reach out to him. Yeah, so Borg style RPG. Now, when I say Borg style, it's not going to be so wild you can't understand it. This is, let me get to there we go. That's about as Borgian as I'm going to get, right? Because I want it to be understandable. So there might be some background. There might be like a watermark, like this is. There may be some information, things like that. I don't want it to be like, I don't want it to be Morkborg, which is like a hard rock, yeah, nothing like that. Because as much as I got the Morkborg right in front of me. As much as I love myself some Mork and some Cyborg and all this kind of stuff. Where's my Morkborg game? As much as I love it, there's a little part of it that's kind of like, yeah, I don't understand it, which is why they came out with the version without the art. Yeah. Come on, I'm trying to get to here we go. Holy hell, it's the master of monsters. What a honor. Yes, it is. Yeah, AJ, thank you very much. But by the way, for those who don't know, if I don't know how you don't know, but you need to go over to AJ Pickett's channel. You got to go over and subscribe right now. You will not be disappointed. Does a lot of fantasy and science fiction. He's the lore master. Yeah. AJ says, makes sense. I could write down some stuff on my character sheet in the treks, such as was at the LA riots and has walked the Grand Canyon. True story. Wow. Yes, that's exactly what I wanted to get across. That I want the character sheet to be a living document of what you've done and where you're going. So the character sheet begins in the same page, but the minute it gets inserted into your game, it's going to be completely different than my game. So Shitlord says, this is more like a realistic look at how humanity would have to evolve to live and travel in space. Yeah, I'm absolutely embracing the reality of our solar system and the places in it. So yeah. So when does playtesting begin? Take my money. Well, first of all, don't know when playtesting is going to come. and I don't want any money. Or let me be more specific. While I would love to take people's money, that would require me to take on another job function, and I don't want to do that. Or rather, my God, yeah, or rather, I I don't want to be a financial planner. I don't want to be layout. I don't want to be marketing. I'm not going to, social media, all that kind of stuff. That's a full time job, and so no, thank you. I've seen people do it, and it's horrible. I don't have the time or energy to do that. But like, let me show you this. Um, Show this to you. Wow, I know I'm moving it at hyper speed, but this is all you need for character creation. Look on the list, pick one. Go to another list, pick one, or roll. Go to the other list, pick one. Go to this list, pick one, pick one, pick one, pick one. You're done. That's your character sheet. So I wanted it to be as quick, easy, that kind of thing. And then you see how this is a little bit chaotic. I may put a watermark behind it. I'm going to probably absolutely change the font around, maybe things like that. But essentially, this is what you need to create your character. It's all you need. Funky names for the jackets you can be in: Sarkov, Neuroforge, Docent, Farmers, Cybrids, Zeros, Ardens, Genomancers, Genome, I guess it would be pronounced Genome Answers, Zeniths, Craniac, Novus, Chromags. Yeah, there's a bunch of stuff. So anyway, just want to share that out to you guys. And we're late. I know we're late. We're very late. So let me say goodbye to everybody. Drew says, of course I'm subscribed to AJ, but I feel like it fell off a little from my recommendations. I have to look again what has happened there in recent times. A lot of people that I've been subscribed to fell off my recommendations. It's algorithmic, siloing, right? It's crazy why it does it. It's like I click the button to subscribe to them. Why am I not getting their notifications? Then they make you have to pick notifications. And then they're like, do you want all the notifications or partially? Yeah. Caligula says, great show as always. Well, thank you very much. Yeah, we're going to talk about random tables. There are going to be a ton of random tables to create like random habitats and locations, story ideas. And always the hardest part in selling this is the playground of adventure is not just going to be external, but it will be internal. Players who have memories that don't belong to them, who have bodies that they are not used to being inside of, to having people living their lives and things like that. And that's going to be the most difficult selling point. And so making these one-pagers, I'm calling them one-pagers because I want something like an elevator pitch, to hand off one page to someone, one pick, one promotion, one thing, and go, is this interesting to you? Is this catching your attention? And someone goes, I want to know more about that. And then, well, here's another page, so you don't have to read 60 pages. Here's just one page. Read this. Wow, is that what Mercury is like? That's weird. Is there a character sheet? Here's a character sheet. Oh, how are the dice rolled? Here's one page. That kind of thing. Good point. The RPG guys I subscribe to don't come up that often anymore. Yeah, just DBJ and Woodward. I got to check it with AJ again. Yeah, it's crazy how like our elder statesmen, I guess like myself nowadays, people who have been online 5 years plus, I'm calling them elder statesmen, have disappeared, not because they're not doing anything any longer, but the algos have pushed them down for the newness. So it's crazy. So anyway, guys, thank you very much for being part of the show. AJ, thank you very much for stopping by. I really appreciate that as well. Yeah, no need to do that, but I really do appreciate it. And maybe you might have some conversations or something like that. That'd be kind of cool for a little invite or get together or something like. Yeah, I'll reach out. So guys, thank you very much for being part of the show. Please like, share. I often don't do this. Please like, share, subscribe. And lastly, if you're at the end of this, give me a good place I can post these one-pagers. I know the Discord is probably thank you there, AJ. I know our Discord is probably a good place, but I'd like to share this out in a neutral ground, to share it out where they don't even hear my voice. Someone sees this and goes, "What's that about?" And then can follow the breadcrumbs back to where it comes about. You'll see me in this is I'm using Canva, and there's a large file here, and I'm just increasing the file. And then what I'm probably going to have to do is break up that file, which is fine, and just take those images, and those images would can just be mixed, matched, shared any way you want to. Yeah, so free rules light RPG. I'm going to definitely have to. The rules are probably going to be about 3 or 4 pages long according to this layout, and then maybe 25 to 30 pages of lore. At least 15 for each location in our solar system. And then, no shit, well, there's 24 different jackets, so that's at least 24 right there. Damn. Oh, let me show the jackets off. I haven't done that. And I haven't updated them recently either, but let's get down here. Here we go. Cro-Mags, the Urani, gender fluid and free, objects of obsession. The Agi or Agi, however you pronounce it. That's up to you. Artificial intelligence with human-like faces. The Metallum, mineralized peoples. So on and so forth. The Kresh, living, breathing, clone society, social experiment of although this is all AI art, I just wondered, like, why'd they make everybody mad? Why are they mad? When it came out, I was just like, I should change that. And I was like, hell no, I'm not changing that. Human 2.0. Yeah, redesigned humans, stuff like that. So these are some of just examples of the jackets, the bodies that players can be in, and then your zippers kind of is your cortical stack. Zippers and jackets. Docent, synthetic servitude, Craniac. That's not a name they came up with. That's what other people call them. they're like the Intelites, I think they call themselves. But we're going to fix all that. Zenith, paragons of humans, imperfect perfection. Yeah, they're not as perfect as you think they are. So on and so forth. So there's a bunch of these. Yep. Martians. Humanity terraformed, breathing dust, crimson flesh. Yep. So, yeah, jacket time before the end of eternity. Guys, have a great one. I'm going to sign out now. Thank you very much for being part of the show. We've gone on far too long. I've taken up too much of your time. Your time is very valuable. Thank you very much for spending it here. I hope in your tabletop role-playing experience, especially with sci-fi games, I can make, and we can make some change. Thank you very much. Have a great one. I will see thee tomorrow. Peace and tranquility.